Phase 4 of the MCU is coming to a close with the release of Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I've been excited to see this one for a while now, and after rewatching the first one just a few days ago, I've got some pretty high expectations. Let's talk about it. Thanks for hanging out at Harry's. I'm Harrison. Today we're talking about the 30th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's right, the 30th. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'd love it if you shared your thoughts on the movie in the comments down below. What do you like? What do you dislike? Feel free to spoil away there, just like I'm going to be doing right here. For me, I initially liked the first Black Panther movie when it came out in 2018. It told a compelling story, it was fun, the soundtrack was amazing, it did everything right as an origin story to introduce us to T'Challa. He's a powerful and wise hero, and he has a vibrant home of Wakanda. And then sadly, Chadwick Boseman died in 2020, and there were lots of questions of how would the story continue. Should Marvel replace him or write him out of the story completely? Should they use CGI to bring him back? Well, those questions are answered in this sequel. So let's start by going through some of the good parts. First off, it's a massive tribute to Chadwick Boseman. It's clear they did not want to overlook his significance, not just as a character, but as a person. Director Ryan Coogler said he almost stepped away from this project and filmmaking as a whole after Boseman's death, because of how emotionally painful it was to lose his friend. And those feelings translate over into this movie. There are such strong themes of grief and loss. There's a lot of dialogue about the grieving process and pain. And this is all good, right? It's good to talk about these things and to see our heroes be relatable in this way. I don't think we've seen this much sadness in a Marvel movie before. Another part you can't help but notice is that the tone is much different from the first Black Panther movie. This movie feels more mature. There's a different set of emotional problems the heroes face with things like fear, anger, revenge. There are some similarities with ideas about purpose and duty and family, but the approach is different. The relationships between the main characters have depth and tension in some new ways, so we get some good development in the character department. Once again, the music is awesome. They again combined the film score by Ludwig Göransson with original songs from artists inspired by the world of Wakanda. The iconic tribal sound is still there when we're in Wakanda, but we do experience some new sounds inspired by Mesoamerica for the underwater kingdom of Talokan. As someone who pays attention to the sound design, the soundtrack is really unique and rich. There's a real tenderness in the music that we didn't see in the sort of fun, energetic songs from the first movie, so it's a nice change there. Another likable aspect is the great performances from the main characters. We have a mostly female cast here. Everyone is unique and they play their role really well. For me, Queen Ramonda and Namor are the standout performances. Angela Bassett is captivating as the Queen Mother. She gets a lot of screen time in this one, and she really just takes charge when she's on screen. And Tenoch Huerta is great as the antagonist Namor, which is another good part here. Namor is a dynamic antagonist. He bounces back and forth between being the villain, but also potentially an ally. His character is well written and the performance is solid. The only thing I'm not a fan of from a design standpoint is the wings on his feet. It just goes to show you that all of these superhero movies we love are based on comic books, and comic books can be really weird and really cringy. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate everyone who does that, and also like the video so it can spread to more people. Thanks for doing that. Let's move on to some of the bad parts. The biggest thing for me is that the story doesn't seem complete. The first and second acts are pretty solid, but where I start to lose interest was in the third act. The intrigue and the climax in the third act felt disconnected from what had been building throughout the entire movie. When Shuri finds Killmonger in the ancestral plane, he tempts her to take revenge, and at this point, she's kind of been building up her anger to kill Namor. Then in her final battle with Namor, in just an instant, she decides to be noble and become allies with him instead. It just felt off to be sort of building up to this big moment and then to feel unsatisfied by the end. And here's why I think it feels this way. It's clear to me that the plot of this movie is just another chess piece for the larger game that is the MCU. It's an introduction for the new Ironheart show, the surprise cameo of Val is setting up the Thunderbolts in Phase 5, and it could mean another return for Namor as an ally in a bigger scale conflict later on. And this has been the problem with the majority of Phase 4. None of the movies or shows can really stand on their own 2 feet because they're relying on something that should not be there. It's called Deus Ex Machina. Pause the video right here to read that whole thing. Another part I'm not a fan of is the unnecessarily long runtime. Wakanda Forever has the second longest runtime in the MCU behind Avengers Endgame. Now, it makes sense to me why that movie is 3 hours long, but I don't think this movie needed to be 2 hours and 40 minutes. It sort of reached a lull period in the middle where I was like, how much more do we have to go here? Now, can't complain too much when comparing this movie to Thor: Love and Thunder, a story that moved just way too fast and didn't develop anything significant. So, in the grand scheme of things, I'll gladly take this over that. And on a smaller note, I just wish we had seen more of Wakanda. I mean, the movie's called Wakanda Forever, which I know is the catchphrase of everyone who lives there. But we spend so much time either underwater or in water or near water that it just seemed like we were barely in Wakanda. It's like if you made a Batman movie where he's never in Gotham. Why would you do such a thing? Overall, I think this is the best Marvel movie to come out in 2022. Phase 4 has been relatively disappointing. If you're a fan of the first movie, if you're a fan of anything Marvel has done in the past, I don't know, decade, you're probably gonna have a good time with this one. Out of the 30 movies now in the MCU, I wouldn't rank this one too high. I just think that there are other movies that feel more complete, feel more standalone, and don't rely too much on all of these extra things, these extra characters and stories that they just feel kind of gimmicky at this point. Well, those are my thoughts on the new movie. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Check out this video on your screen for my review of Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'll see y'all later.